So Cynthia Germanotta is the president of Born This Way Foundation, which she co-founded with her daughter, Lady Gaga, in 2012. Under Cynthia's leadership, the foundation is connected with tens of thousands of young people across the country and around the world, launched innovative, youth-focused programming, and conducted cutting-edge research to improve the lives of mental wellness. In addition, we have Maya Enista Smith, who has a decade of experience in civic engagement, leadership, youth development, and community engagement field, and proudly serves as the first executive director of Born This Way Foundation. In this position, she engages a diverse array of partners across sectors to conduct innovative research, build authentic youth-focused programming, and lead effective campaigns that foster kindness and advance the conversation around mental health. So I think mental health is an incredibly important conversation for all of us today, so I'm really excited to welcome them. So without further ado, please help me welcome our moderators, Suzette Bishop from YouTube, Cynthia Germanotta, and Maya Smith.
For having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today to talk about the incredibly important work that you're doing at Born This Way Foundation. So to start, can you tell us a bit about what Born This Way Foundation is? How did it get started? And what was the inspiration behind creating it?
Yeah. Thank you, Suzette.
Sure.
Thanks for having us here at Google Talks. We appreciate it. It's great to see all of you. So this is a very personal journey for myself, for my daughter, for my family, and now for my team, including Maya and the incredible members of the team that are here today. It was inspired by two things, really. One are the experiences that my daughter had growing up as a youth. Not unlike many other young people, she had some very, very challenging experiences because she was different, felt very isolated and taunted and abused on many occasions, and unfortunately this led to anxiety and depression at a very, very young age, and later some other issues. As you heard, she just mentioned she has post-traumatic stress syndrome. So it was inspired by that and her desire for other young people to be better equipped than she felt that she was. And even though we're a close family, we got some things wrong. So that was one of the drivers. And the second was this incredible relationship that she built with her fans as she gained her voice. And she would talk about her issues, talk about her struggles, which concerned me a little bit as a mom initially, but I came to realize that she was healing and young people were also healing and gaining hope. They were, asking her, Gaga, how did you do it? If you did it, perhaps there's hope for us. How can we get involved? And as she and I traveled the world together, we heard very, very similar stories from other young people, everywhere. Might have been different countries, but very similar stories. And we realized the enormity of the issue. So that was really the genesis of the foundation. And her vision was creating a foundation that empowered and inspired young people to build a kinder and a braver world. And that's what we do. And really at the heart of that is their mental health. So today we work very hard at convening healthy conversations around mental health. We connect youth with resources in their communities and elsewhere. And we work very hard at eliminating the stigma around mental health.
That's really wonderful. So I understand a couple of years ago, Born This Way Foundation traveled with Lady Gaga's Joanne World Tour. Can you tell us more about that opportunity and how you engaged with fans and the communities along the way?
Absolutely. I'll just give you a little history, and then I'd like Maya to share some of the details with you. Sure. Very early on, when my daughter started touring, she said, hey, Mom, let's take the foundation with us. Let's take it on the road. And let's create her version of what she called a modern-day tailgating party. Yes, we had music and food and fun, but it was very serious in that we connected youth on the day of her show. You didn't have to have a ticket to see the show, but we connected young people with organizations in their communities that could help them. It was incredible. We have done, I think, 4 or 5 of them, world tours. And on the Joanne one, we traveled to over 30 cities. And the magic
Yeah.
really is in the details, so Maya.
Thank you guys so much for having us here. And the magic of the Joanne World Tour was under Alex Aid's supervision. Alex in the back is our director of programs. In every night in like backstage catering, the foundation team would be like this, just like sitting by the chocolate fountain, like almost asleep. And people would be like, these guys like do not work. But what we did all day before the show was we worked with local organizations to support their work, amplify the incredible impact that they were having in their community, and volunteer alongside them. We worked with over 75 local organizations in the 30 tour cities that we visited. Alex and I each have favorites. Beverly's Birthdays in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that celebrates birthdays for foster kids who wouldn't otherwise get to celebrate their birthdays. Kids Food Basket in Lansing, Michigan, but we got to go see the world and use the platform and access that Lady Gaga had to put a spotlight on incredible organizations that are serving their community each and every day. The first time we went out on tour for the Born This Way ball, we had these 10 incredible local partners, but what we realized was that as we packed up, right, as the 47 trucks rolled out every night to a new city, young people needed to be anchored in support in resources and community. So instead of having these big national partners, we did the extra legwork to work with local partners. And so it's been, going on tour is definitely my favorite part, both because of the chocolate fountain and the volunteering. But we're so excited, and it's a little similar to what we're doing in Las Vegas now, which I know we'll talk about later.
Perfect. And what was the reaction like to your presence at concert venues?
It was incredible. So the fans, so I remember with Born This Way Ball when we first started tabling inside the venues, we'd be like, come here guys, we're Born This Way Foundation, like come talk to us, right?
Yeah.
And then this last tour, there would just be lines, right? Like the doors would open and people would run, and you would think they were like going to GA or to get to front row seats, and they'd be coming to us, and we were like, huh.
That's amazing.
So it was so incredible, both in the community. The organizations welcomed us with such open arms in each place. Like, it's such a gift, and I hope you guys have the opportunity to do this at Google, to ask people, what do you need? Right? To ask an LGBT organization in Oklahoma, what do you need? And then to be able to fill that need. Right? That's what we got to do on tour. So in the community and in venues, people were just so incredibly kind and welcoming. And we stay in touch with most of the organizations that we work with. And Alex and Shadil and our team did an incredible job building relationships.
Wonderful.
And one of the things that I just found so wonderful, because I spoke to so many of the young people and asked many of them, who did you come with today? I can't tell you how many young people said, I came alone. And when I asked why, they said, because I knew I wouldn't leave alone. I would make a friend, and which kind of speaks to the authenticity of this group and hopefully the work that we're doing, that they feel that somebody cares about them, they feel valued, and they make a friend.
That's so amazing.
My favorite story, I was staffing Cynthia in San Jose, and I was like watching this, maybe he was like 15 or 16, this like timid boy in a school uniform. He was just sort of like lurking outside the bathroom across from the foundation activation. And I was like, I'm not gonna like make him uncomfortable. I'm not gonna go approach him. I'm just gonna keep an eye on him. If he like gives me a signal that he wants to talk, I'm gonna jump all over that. And so I'm watching him for a little while, and he finally like takes his backpack and goes into the bathroom. And he's just like, he's not talking to anyone. He's not making eye contact. He emerges from the bathroom as like the most incredible drag queen you have ever seen, right? And then he was who he was supposed to be, right? Then he was talking to everyone and came up to but he finally had found a space where he could be who he was, right? And dress the way that he wasn't allowed to dress at home, and I got to talk to him, and it was just, I'm so glad I caught him in that moment and got to see that transformation, and that's, I think, shows who Lady Gaga is and a little bit about the space that the foundation tries to provide for people.
Wonderful. So what are some of the initiatives Born This Way Foundation is currently working on? We got to see a clip about the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there are many, and I'll ask Maya to go into the details, but what I would love for you to know in terms of our approach is that our work is informed by two very important things. One is the youth themselves. It was very important to my daughter and to all of us from the outset that their voice be heard. They keep it real and relevant for us. Secondly, it's informed by research. Many of our programs, there was a very specific finding that informed the direction that the foundation is taking. So we're doing some really cool things, and I want to talk about a few of those.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Teen Mental Health First Aid. First, thank you for having my daughter in the room as well. Another feisty blonde. It's funny, my husband and I both have brown hair, and she gets her blonde hair from Lady Gaga. How many of you have heard of Mental Health First Aid? Awesome. A couple people. Please get trained in mental health first aid. So mental health first aid, we think about it as CPR for the brain. I have 2 kids. When I had kids, I learned about the Heimlich and CPR and all the things that I could do to help someone stay alive. But the reality of our world is that we're more likely to meet someone in mental health distress than we are in physical health distress. But like, how do we de-escalate a panic attack, right? How do we know how to talk to someone who's having suicidal ideation? We don't. So our partners at the National Council for Behavioral Health created an incredible program called Mental Health First Aid that's available to adults like us. But we know that young people also so desperately want access. The foundation knows from our research that 90% of young people value their mental health, but less than 50% of those young people know where to go to get any resources or support for that conversation. And so it's in that gap that we created Teen Mental Health First Aid. So Teen Mental Health First Aid teaches 10th through 12th graders a curriculum around their mental health. Alex, again, his incredible leadership, piloted it in 8 schools this past spring, and this fall in a couple of weeks we'll be rolling out to many, many more. So please, the Mental Health First Aid program is available now. Definitely get it checked out and bring it to Google. But Teen Mental Health First Aid, if you have kids and families and friends, high schools that you went to, would love to bring them there. And then the second program that is happening right now that I'm really excited about, that I hope you guys will do a ton of social media in our conversation, and you'll hashtag it all BeKind21. So we launched a campaign last year, we're in the second year now, about building the habit and the muscle around kindness. We know that if we do something for 21 days in a row, it becomes a habit. So I've been trying for like 10 years around the working out and the eating, but kindness is like way easier. So we created calendars for workplaces, for schools, for organizations, for entire cities, like the city of Las Vegas and the city of Anaheim have joined us. And they think about how to create kindness in their communities. So right now we're on day 4, right? Happy Be Kind Day 4. And each day the internet is exploding with kindness. So if you're having a rough day, check out hashtag BeKind21 and be one of the thousands and thousands of people who joined us on this campaign. You can sign up at bornthisway.foundation/BeKind21 and would love to have you. Any other favorite programs you want to?
I have a lot.
Yeah, right?
We've done a lot, but I think those are 2 that are really out there right now and top of mind, and we have some very exciting things coming in the fall.
That's amazing. So has your programming grown as the initial groups of youth that you started working with have grown up?
It has.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm most proud of is that our mission is fundamentally the same, though. It's very sound. We'll be in existence 8 years this coming February. But it has evolved, and it has evolved because of the youth that have helped inform our work. It has evolved because of our incredible partners and the partnerships that have also helped inform our work. And it's taken us deeper and more specifically into the mental health space. I don't have to tell any of you the increase in the incidence of depression, of anxiety, of suicide in particular, which is the second leading cause now among young people, ages 15 to 24. So this is an area that we will continue to focus on even more in the future.
Yeah. And going back to what you just said earlier about 2 of the things that really inform your programming, talking directly with youth, and then also research. So in order to develop effective programming, Born This Way Foundation is using the power of scientific research. Can you tell us about some things that you've learned from some of those research studies that you've supported?
Well, broadly, we've learned, the power of storytelling. In fact, some of our research has been in the form of diary, research. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it allows the research taker more time to actually take it in more of a narrative form. So we have actually, through that, as well as all the tours that we've done, the Born Brave tours, learned an enormous amount through storytelling. If you look at teen mental health first aid, for example, one of the things we learned through our research finding is that youth, they prioritize their health. They very much want to help both themselves as well as their friends, but they don't feel equipped. So there's a need and there's a thirst for whether it's a course or reading materials, any kind of tools to help them.
So in identifying that there's a bit of a resource gap, is there more work that we can be doing even as individuals to help support changing that?
Yeah, well, 100%. Because the other things that we've learned is the lack of access to mental health resources, so we can certainly be working on that, the cost associated with those, and the stigma associated with it, just besides the awareness of where they are. I mean, the greatest barrier to young people getting help is they don't know where to go. And all of those findings that I just mentioned were informed by research.
Wow. So Google search trends often can be a reflection of what people are interested in around the world. And oftentimes when people don't know where to go, they might turn to Google search. I understand that Born This Way Foundation looked at insights from Google search trends on mental health and to enhance your programming and messaging strategies around those insights. So for example, with respect to terminology, whether people are using the term mental health versus mental wellness and how that might impact how they find information. Can you just tell us a bit more about that and what you were able to do with Google search trends?
Yeah, I mean, our friend Matt, I don't know, is Matt going to talk about it, with us?
Yeah, Matt, do you mind sharing a
Sure.
little thing?
We'd love that.
Logan.
All right, of course.
Yeah, so Google Search did some really interesting digging into some data about how people talk about mental health. I think as Suzette said, folks turn to Google a lot in order to have conversations, or I should say in order to learn more about how people talk, what people are most interested in. And so I'll call out a couple quick data points that I found really interesting, and I think the team did as well. So does anyone want to take a guess? What day of the week do most people search for mental health related queries?
Tuesday.
Here's Sundays. Yeah, it's actually Monday. So we actually can take a look at queries and see most mental health queries spike on a Monday. And so as we look at social programming, different content that we might want to put out there, we know that most people are looking for mental health related solutions on Monday. Or as you said earlier, terms like mental health, mental wellness, mental illness. By looking at how people are searching on Google, we can sort of understand what sort of language we should use in marketing in order to connect better with youth.
And one of the findings that Cynthia and I found most transformative, you never really know if your message is making a difference, right? We put out all of this content and we push Lady Gaga to share these stories and be so vulnerable, right? Because we believe that it matters and we believe that young people need to hear those stories. And the slide that you showed us around the conversations that Lady Gaga has been having around mental health and the searches, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we looked at an analysis of mental health related general queries as well as Lady Gaga and mental health. And whenever we see Gaga have these public tentpole moments, whether it be the Guardian op-ed that she published last year or even her Grammy speech from this past February, we see spikes in Lady Gaga and mental health terms, which when I passed it on to Maya, I was like, this should be incredibly validating to you guys that the work that you're doing is actually resonating with users. We're seeing visible spikes in mental health and Lady Gaga related queries as she talks more about it.
Right. Awesome. And we're also seeing, irrespective of that, of my daughter's comments and passion about mental health, we're overall seeing, and this was attributed to the research that Google did for us, an overall increase in searching for mental health, as well as an increase in searches for mental health services near me.
That's amazing, and to me, that's really inspiring to hear. And you mentioned also how the messaging from your co-founder can help amplify Born This Way Foundation's work. So how do you use that to keep the momentum going with some of the projects that you're working on too?
How do we use, I'm sorry.
The moments that she's spoken publicly about mental health.
Well, we use it carefully.
Yeah.
For one, but again, simply to inform
Yeah.
the work that we do. I think because she is a sufferer, herself, and has been very willing to share her story. One of the most powerful things is when she does talk about it, other people open up. So to me, I think that's been the most powerful way of tapping into her, just to her issues and to her passion about it.
Amazing.
And we don't know that they're coming, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just like how core it is to her. Nobody like helped her think about that Grammy speech, right? Like this is just every time she's given a microphone, like this is what she wants to talk about. And so sometimes we find out when you guys find out, and we're like, retweet that.
No, it's so true. Like,
Retweet
we don't ask her to do those. I mean,
course,
when
yeah.
I didn't get to attend Grammys this year, had no idea that she was going to say that, and Maya and I were like,
That's amazing. So with Lady Gaga's current residency in Las Vegas, how has Born This Way Foundation been able to work more within the Las Vegas community?
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
When we talked about the tours that we've been having, we're generally in and out of a city in one day, maybe 2 days maximum. The fact that she'll be in Las Vegas at least for 2 years gives us a really unique opportunity to be in a community for a couple of years, really learn about their issues and their needs, and also test out our work and a lot of the practices that we're implementing. We've done so much, not only in the venue itself with a pop-up, but very specific events in the communities, in the schools, and with nonprofits. And maybe we can give a couple of examples.
Sure. We have an incredible team member named Jasmine who's leading our work in Las Vegas. We piloted teen mental health first aid at Valley High School. More than 600 high school seniors were trained this past year. Our activation pop-up is within the venue, so concert goers get to come participate in acts of kindness. And then we've been partnering with local organizations, the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, the Center. My personal favorite, just because I'm so mushy about them, there's an incredible organization called Kyler's Kicks. And if you find yourself in Las Vegas, be like me and bring suitcases worth of shoes. There's a 13-year-old boy named Kyler Nipper who was severely bullied. He and his family live in a homeless shelter, and he was going to school, and he didn't have the raddest pair of shoes, and so he was experiencing a lot of bullying and meanness. And another little boy in his science class stabbed him with a pencil, and it punctured his lung, and a lot of complications because of that. He was in the hospital for a very long time. And one of the little boys from his class, when he was able to see visitors, he brought him a pair of Jordans, a pair of new Jordans, because when you're 13, you figure if you get him new shoes, the bullying will stop. And Kyler talks about how these shoes were the first time he felt happy, like it was going to be okay. And so and this is to Cynthia's point, young people don't just want to solve their own problems, right? They want to solve everybody's problems. So Kyler started an organization called Kyler's Kicks that collects shoes for homeless men, women, and children in Las Vegas. And it's how he treats his PTSD. So when he wakes up with night terrors from the stabbing, he cleans each shoe with toothbrushes and laundry detergent so that they can be as nice as possible for the shoes that he's giving out. Last week, he gave out his 25,000th pair of shoes, and the foundation has probably had the great fortune of bringing him thousands of those pairs of shoes. So that,
The Zappos.
yes, with our partners at Zappos, of course. So I think everything from the incredible work that we do in the venue, which you saw with those 16 young people being brought on stage, to really investing in the community connections. Las Vegas we think of as like our innovation lab, right? It's the first time we get to be in a community for an extended period of time. So we're doing research, we're working with local nonprofits, we're working with civic leaders and trying to strengthen the infrastructure of the organization, of the city, and it's been an incredible experience.
And the community itself, including MGM, which hosts my daughter, are incredibly pro-social. They really care about their community. So there's a lot of love and support, going out there, but we need even more.
Wow, thank you for investing your time and energy into the Las Vegas community. That's really wonderful to hear. So Cynthia, we also wanted to congratulate you on your appointment as the World Health Organization's Ambassador for Mental Health, which happened last spring. Can you talk a bit about your role and the opportunity to expand your efforts on a global scale?
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, I can, and I'm honored and very grateful to have that opportunity to partner with Dr. Tedros, who is the Director General of the World Health Organization, and the incredible team there to promote mental health on a global scale and help to amplify their messaging and the great work that they do all over the world, but in particular in low-income countries. So I'm very, very honored.
That's wonderful. So we'd like to open up for audience Q&A in a minute. So if anybody has a question for Cynthia or Maya, you can please go ahead and we're going to put out the mic and you can start heading over. So while people are lining up, I'll ask just a couple more questions. What's next for Born This Way Foundation?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. Well, we're already thinking about our 10-year, anniversary coming
Fantastic.
up. Maya spoke earlier about working in the gaps. Our research and the young people help us identify those gaps. And the next one that we're looking at is a gap between their needs and finding those resources, whether that be online or offline. So we are incredibly excited about that. I can't share a whole lot with you yet, but it's something you'll start hearing about this year.
Great.
And a lot more research. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the expansion of Team Mental Health First Aid. We're going to 30-plus schools this fall. This is just something we should have in every school, right? How many of you talked about mental health in your high school? Yeah, awesome, like 2 or 3. I did not, right? I didn't know anything about my brain. I knew about in 8th grade we watched the Miracle of Birth video, right? We all watched that. I don't know, I might be a lot older than you, but I never learned about my brain and about my mental health, and so I'm excited to embed that in schools.
And I think, just a kind of footnote on that, 50% of mental health issues in youth develop by the time they're 14, and the other 3/4 by the time they're in their early 20s. So it's really vitally important that they learn these types of skills early on. Our work is very aspirational and preventive in nature, so our goal is really to equip young people as early as possible to deal with their own struggles and to have the resources and the inner fortitude and taking that stigma away for them to do it. So that's our approach.
That's so great.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn to an audience question.
Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Michael Giordano. So, as a Giordano, very Italian, right? So, growing up, my parents never talked about mental health. It's not really a thing that I think a lot of parents typically talk about. Have you guys seen a change in that with the foundation over the past few years? I think it's something that's becoming more and more prevalent within families. So, wanted your perspective on that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. The diary survey that Cynthia mentioned, we asked parents in the same homes and children to write diary entries about how they felt like they were talking about mental health, right? All the parents were like, I'm acing it, right? Take an ass. All the kids were like, nope, right? And so it's so interesting that I think there's definitely an increased trend in talking about mental health proactively instead of just times of crisis. I think our society is evolving, and you're seeing that in the media narrative. But from that research, what we're seeing in homes is that the conversations aren't happening in ways that young people are connecting with as well yet. The biggest finding that we found from that research study was that young people didn't feel comfortable sharing their failures with their parents or times when they were struggling because they weren't, as parents, the parents weren't sharing their struggles with their kids, right? So in this social media generation of everything's fine, it's great, things are going perfectly, we have all the money we need, mommy and daddy have got it covered. Young people are not then feeling safe sharing the times when they themselves don't have it. And so I think parents still have a long way to go. And I think Cynthia and I both as moms, this is an area that we'd love to figure out. So if you have ideas on how parents can better support and talk to their kids about their mental health, I think this is still much needed.
Yeah, and the other reason that they didn't share with their parents is they were feeling judged. So, listening and really understanding as a parent is important. Where I fell down as a parent with actually both of my daughters is not really understanding the warning signs to look for. Not understanding the difference between normal teenage behavior and growth and a serious issue. I'm Italian too.
You are? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That meme about you, Lady Gaga, is amazing, by the way. I'm Italian.
No, but the reason I'm bringing that up is we didn't talk about that at home. It was the school of hard knocks. It was, true grit, toughen up, get over it. So that was my approach, is trying, to just develop strength, in your children, and it doesn't work. I think I might have shut
Thank you.
myself off.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from the audience? Perfect. Hi.
Hi. What could we do as Googlers to help support the Born This Way Foundation?
A lot. Well, I think you can walk away from today saying you attended this and saying that you had a conversation about mental health, which is a huge step to eliminating that stigma. There's also many other ways online
Yeah.
to get involved.
To Cynthia's
Be
point.
Kind 21 being one.
Oh, yeah, please sign up. So to Cynthia's point about telling someone you had a conversation around mental health, say that, be met with the potential awkwardness. Because in our society, we need to create more moments to invite people to share their stories, right? And mental health is just not talked about enough. So Cynthia and I and our whole team, we talk about it all day long, and it gets less awkward the more that you do it. So please do that. Be Kind 21 right now is where the foundation is focused. We're so excited about this campaign. I am certain in this incredible office there are acts of kindness in the halls every day, just scooters letting other scooters go, however you run your stuff here. So please sign up for Be Kind 21. And then I also know that you guys have a really generous match policy. So the foundation, though we are, the name is the foundation, we're a public charity, so we're a 501c3. We rely on incredible donations from partners and corporations and individuals, and so donating through that would also make a huge difference. And then please, I hope Google pursues it as a company, but if it doesn't, please look into mental health first aid and get trained, because you're never going to know when your skills can help save a life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Brendan McNamara. I wanted to thank you both for coming in to hear the remarkable work that you're doing with the Born This Way Foundation. And I wanted to ask, regarding, you mentioned partnering with high schools while in Las Vegas for the residency. Were there other considerations of partnering with other youth organizations, be it sporting organizations or religious entities, as a different way of connecting with students, or are you looking to primarily stay in schools for the time being?
We would love as diverse array of partners. The part about schools is there's these finite curriculum blocks, right? It's sort of the same, so we know that they'll be there for 46-minute blocks this time. So you just have to be a little bit more creative, but we have a great partnership with Boys and Girls Clubs internationally. There are a bunch of fraternities and sororities that join the Be Kind 21 Challenge. So we would love, and especially I think the faith-based community has a really important role to play in destigmatizing mental health. So we would eagerly work with any and all of these groups, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, of course, please.
Hi, Megan Kiefer is my name. Thank you so much for coming. This is really actually interesting for me. I didn't know much about it, so it's great to hear.
Great.
I have a question and potentially an idea. So my question is for the teen mental health first aid. Is that, when you go into the schools, is it a required course or is it optional? Is my question.
Right now, it's optional. In some of, Alex? He's on the floor. Is it a required course in those schools, or are we making it an optional course?
Yeah, so they are required to take it. If there's any issues, of course, that we don't, if there's any sensitivities, if they're not comfortable taking it, that's of course fine.
So they can opt out.
Yeah, but I do know the schools where we piloted it chose to make all the grades, I think 10 through 12 actually take it, rather than have a selection of students from those grades.
So my idea is, and it goes kind of back to Michael's question about how are parents having the conversation you mentioned with the diary. It's still hard. They think they're acing it. They're not really. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for those schools that are having the teen mental health first aid a required course, sending a letter home to the parents that take it and say, hey, your son or daughter is going to be partaking in this course this year. I want you to know that there's also the mental health first aid for adults. We highly encourage you to take it if you haven't already. It's going to be a good way for you to kind of understand what your child might be going through. So just an idea.
Fantastic idea.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Is that,
Something that they want to look at too is right now 10% of the school staff has to be trained in youth mental health first aid in order to teach teen mental health first aid at school. But one of the additional things that the National Council wants to explore is encouraging parents, a certain percentage of parents, to also be trained in mental health first aid.
that's an awesome idea.
Well, thank you so much.
And I think to your point, even just the awareness that your kids are doing it will start a different conversation at dinner, right?
Of course.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions from the audience? No?
And I would
Yeah.
be remiss if I didn't point out, Me Too is here. She's our digital manager. She would love a smattering of new followers on the foundation social handles. So the foundation is on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Google.
So they just look
YouTube.
for Born This Way
So please,
Foundation,
yeah,
yeah.
it's BTWF and then spell out foundation. And then the last, but certainly not least, team member, Josh Meredith in the room, who makes our world go round. Thank you, Josh, for being here. And thank you, Google, for the invitation, for having us here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so much.
Yeah, thank you for everything that you're doing to encourage kindness, provide support to young people, and reduce stigma around mental health. Thank you so much for sharing your own insights. We're so grateful to have you here today. Thank you.
Thanks,
Suzette.
Suzette.